LSU beat Georgia this Saturday in the SEC championship game, and with that win, leapfrogged back over Ohio State into the #1 seed in the college football playoff. Clemson and Oklahoma, of course, rounding out the top 4 as we go. And, as we sort of approach the playoff here, we'll have a little time to sort of sit and digest this because the games are still 2 weeks away. But that's going to be the bracket, and they'll play these games on Saturday, December 28th. And all three of you cover all of this. So I'd love to get a take from you if I could. And let's see here. Paul, I'll start with you because you weren't here yesterday. Coming off of Sunday, what was the #1 thing that stood out to you?
By LSU moving up, they have the easiest path. Obviously, Oklahoma, but they get to play in Atlanta, which is not very far. And think about this, Greeny. If they beat Oklahoma and they're heavy favorite, they play the national championship game in New Orleans. That's right down the road. They can walk to the game from Baton Rouge. And it's ironic to think about. This will be the 4th time, assuming LSU wins, that they'll have played a national championship or BCS game.
Yeah.
All 4 times would have been in New Orleans.
Yes, I saw that on the telecast of the game. So that's another reason why getting the #1 seed was so critical, right? We talked a lot about avoiding Clemson, but actually getting practically home field advantage was a big factor in this as well.
No doubt. And listen, I'm not saying that going to Phoenix is the end of the world, but Atlanta is a lot easier, especially for the fans.
For an SEC team, of course. Desmond, what was your biggest takeaway from the weekend?
Greeny, I'm not a big proponent of the transfer portal, but it worked for 3 programs and 3 individuals. Joe Burrow transferred from Ohio State to LSU. You're looking at Jalen Hurts, transferred from Alabama to Oklahoma. And, of course, Justin Fields from Georgia to Ohio State. So the transfer portal worked for 3 programs and 3 individuals.
It's a glimpse of the future of the sport, right? Yeah. I mean, this is a glimpse into the future of the sport, something that you hold or that you cover so closely. And obviously the Hurts piece of this is fascinating.
It's huge. And I mean, look, going into this season, everybody kind of thought, are we going to get this magical story of Jalen Hurts being able to make it to the playoff again and then also face his former team, Alabama? Well, here's the thing. Alabama's not in the playoff, and Jalen Hurts is. And not only that, he's also going to be a Heisman finalist. He'll be in New York here this weekend. So it's incredible to see what's happened for him. And Paul, you said it, look, part of LSU's easy path is that they face Oklahoma. I don't know. I'm not saying that Oklahoma is going to beat LSU, but don't count Oklahoma out. With Lincoln Riley having time to prepare, he's one of the best offensive minds in the country. I mean,
by the way, when Jalen Hurts was at Alabama, he beat LSU every time.
Yeah, he did. He's familiar with that defense. And look, the offense for LSU has changed. The defense is still a similar scheme. They've got some dudes on that side of the ball.
Well, listen, as a player yourself, you would understand this. Everyone's talked about all the motivation that Dabo Swinney gets with Clemson. Yeah. Talk about motivation. Oklahoma's like the forgotten team in all of this. People are, everyone was talking, well, it's 3 teams, and then whoever gets to play Oklahoma obviously has the easy path of the Big 12 champ. They have an experienced coach. They have an experienced quarterback. Is that an easy game for LSU?
It's not going to be an easy game because just like you said, they've been so disrespected this whole process. Everyone, even Saturday when the announcements came out, it was about LSU. It was about Ohio State. It was about Clemson. No one really talked about Oklahoma. So, Lincoln Riley is getting his guys ready like, hey, they don't respect us. No one's giving us a chance. Yeah. And like you said, they got Jalen Hurts, who's a gamer.
And I have to appeal to you on this. 4 weeks ago, right here, I said it's a time to say Kaddish for Oklahoma.
Yes.
I just got a call from my rabbi. He needs to see me right now.
Listen, really fast, one other thing they have is CeeDee Lamb. And I think when you look at some of the most dynamic receivers in all of college football, CeeDee Lamb is one of them, a very reliable target for Jalen Hurts in this one.
We will have plenty of time. Again, we take sort of a little 2-week hiatus, and then the games come up on the 28th, but all the bowl games are between now and then. And then this week, Thursday night on ESPN, the top college players and coaches will be honored at the 29th annual Home Depot College Football Award Show from the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. That's Thursday night, 7 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. Now, but everything is suddenly up to date in Kansas City. They were once 6-4. Now they've won 3 straight, and their defense has been a big part of the reason why. In their last 3 games, they've allowed just an average of 14 points a game, second best in the league. They've limited opponents during that stretch to a total QBR of 26, in part because they've picked off 6% of their pass attempts. Both of those are best in the NFL, and they're better against the run. Through 10 weeks, only Cincinnati was giving up more rushing yards per game. The Chiefs have ranked in the top half of the league since then. So you take a look at their total defensive numbers, and in the last 3 games, they are awfully impressive. This is a team we were talking about as having an historically bad defense, and now you look at those numbers on your screen, they suggest a totally different story. So, Dan, we spent a lot of our morning yesterday talking about the Patriots and the Chiefs, and I don't think once we mentioned the team that won
Yeah.
Are we, and in part because of an improved defense, all of a sudden having a different conversation about Kansas City?
Absolutely. And I would put them as the biggest threat to the Baltimore Ravens right now, because the conversation was, man, this defense is so bad. Is the offense going to be good enough? And now what's happened is this defense is getting turnovers. And you're giving a really explosive offense the football more. And what's that doing is it's building leads. And now those teams are having to play from behind. They're having to throw the football more. And you continue to get those turnovers. They're also winning the battle of time of possession. And that matters for this football team. This football team has lost one game with Patrick Mahomes as their starter when they haven't won time of possession. I mean, so you're looking at if we get turnovers and then we score early, we put the teams at a deficit. I think the biggest thing is this, Greeny. Honey Badger came over, right? And Honey Badger has been big on the mindset of this Chiefs defense. And we've seen it transition to being a team that, like, Jay, just don't lose the game or don't be so bad enough to lose the game. To now, Chris Jones, number 95, the big-time defensive tackle, came out and said this weekend, listen, we think we're good enough. We don't even need our offense to score. We're good enough as a defense to go win the Super Bowl. Imagine that mind change. 10 weeks ago, it was don't be so bad, and now it's be the reason you're going to win the Super Bowl. It's been fascinating. It's to Honey Badger's credit that he's brought that mindset.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Patrick Mahomes is still their quarterback. Lamar Jackson has made everybody forget about Patrick Mahomes in a way, but how does that factor in with all of this, making them a more complete team and dangerous in the AFC?
I'd say that their offense isn't even playing 50% to its capability. And so Patrick Mahomes still getting healthy, still kind of trusting, stepping into some throws. As this defense plays better and this team can win games and the quarterback gets healthy, you're going to see this surge from this football team because they are a complete team now. They can beat you in a bunch of different ways. They've had 2 good wins in a row, 3 good wins in a row, and the offense hasn't been the reason why. That's a big deal.
If we were a committee and we were ranking the AFC, we'd go Baltimore 1, Kansas City 2?
Yes.
And then we start thinking about New England somewhere after that.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to think New England. You're starting to think Houston, Tennessee, Buffalo. I mean, that's its own grouping.
Watch out for Kansas City. They are heading in the right direction at the right time. Meanwhile, back to the college because it was such a...
How about a little eye candy, guys? We're going to go to the Rockets game with the Kings last night. It would come down to the final shot. Kings in back with 1 second left, and that's Nemanja Bjelica hitting the 33-footer for the win. 33 feet. Pretty cool. Look, Kings won the game and then won Twitter. Protest that. Hashtag Kings for the win.
There's nothing better than petty NBA Twitter.
Petty NBA Twitter needs to be a whole thing. Apparently it already is. I love that. No chill. All right. There was also a game winner in New Orleans last night. Final seconds. Game tied at 103. Pistons ball. Derrick Rose drives in, stop, spins. He hits that jumper. That was with 0.3 seconds left to win it. D. Rose also had a message post-game. Take a listen.
Excuse my English, but I'm born to do this. Like, dead serious. This is what I do.
I love seeing him. I love it. It's so good. And listen, we will excuse the language tomorrow night on